Well, we're here. Basically, I want to talk about a few of your older films, of course,
Oh,
down the track. But firstly, Fake. The success of this television series, Fake, you're part of it. When you were on set, did you know that there was magic happening?
look, when I was on set, I mean, it was a very concentrated set, as you can imagine, because Asha was not only, co-producing this, but she was in every single moment of the
Yeah,
show. So, and so whether we knew it was magic or not, we knew something very special was happening, definitely in terms of that story. And I thought the scripts were wonderful. I mean, I read all the scripts that Anya had written, and I just thought they were fabulous. And I'd also been very aware of the podcast and Stephanie's original, book and the story.
yeah,
I thought it was a really important show to be investigating, this subject matter. But I was more that Asher was so still, so concentrated, so committed. And so you did feel like, I think the other actors, Nicholas and Spencer and myself on set together, we were tended to be on the set at the same time. We did
yeah.
feel very deeply respectful. Like we all just felt incredibly like just be here, be respectful and calm and just try and support because it was such a huge role for her, like enormous. And there
Uh,
was one day, I think, when Jen Lacey developed COVID and had to
Oh,
was in a tent or at home and was translating information, directing Asha in her ear. It was during all the wedding things. So
oh, wow.
Asha was being directed through an earpiece and then directing all of us, passing on Jen's direction, and then getting back into the role and and doing it. So she was quite remarkable. Yeah.
Uh, Anya is a friend. I've known her for a long
Oh,
time, and I mean, she's created a huge talking point. It creates discussion. This show.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, because the real story, I mean, I'm myself, I'm been in a relationship for over 30 years, so I'm not online. I'm not out there having, relationships or meeting people to have relationships, but certainly, particularly with younger, not just younger women, I'm in my 60s, women in their 60s. I know women who have gone online, met people, men and women,
Yeah,
um, and have been deeply uncertain and confused by the people they meet. And then, out of a desperation or a deep need and desire to be seen and to be loved and to feel loved and all
yeah.
those things and to feel alive, have found themselves in some very tricky and dangerous situations. So I think it's totally, I think the whole series is it focuses very much on that particular relationship. But I think that people watching it, some people have been very triggered by it. Other people have found it fascinating. Other people, depending on your own experiences of life,
Yeah.
how you watch the piece. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you've sort of beat me to one of my questions. I didn't think, having you been married for so long, that you'd had experience, but have you had friends or family that have had positive experiences through dating apps or negative that you've had to deal with in real life?
I have seen a couple of friends through some very difficult periods of online dating, younger friends mainly,
Yeah,
um, who are nothing as extreme as this.
no,
However, not even online dating. I have had experiences, though, not through online dating, with people very similar in psychology to
oh,
the David Wenham character. So some people have said to me they don't quite get what he was after. What did he want? He didn't seem to want money. What did he want? And I thought, oh, I understand, because I have met some people. I'm thinking of one in
mm,
particular. You cannot work out what the person wants out of it all, except that they're very intelligent. They love it's almost like a competitive nature against themselves.
manipulation.
Yeah, and against themselves to see if they can do it, to see if they can get the person to do what they need them to do. And the satisfaction and the reward is in that, I suppose, a narcissistic personality, really. So,
Oh, yeah. I mean, even how it ends, he didn't care. And I mean, we can talk spoilers. Even how it ends, he didn't care. And it was so nasty. He
oh,
got under your skin right from the start, actually. That first episode, as they say, was, it got you in and it was binge worthy. But because of Asher and his chemistry, good and bad, it was compelling.
Oh, really? So, but I think that that's where Anya and the producers, Imogen, Emmeline, and all of them were very careful that it wasn't a show about was he
No,
about how to become. It wasn't about a how to, how to become
no.
someone like that, how to do those things. They were very careful. It's a psychological study, very much a psychological study of how we lie to ourselves. Very much about the woman in this case. It could be a man though, but about the person who, against all instincts, against it's listening to other people, not listening to yourself, not desperately
Yeah.
wanting something so badly, not just for yourself, but to please others. And that's where her mother, I'm not referring to Stephanie's mother, because I'm sure her mother was a much nicer person probably than the mother I played.
We'll get there. I'm going to ask something
Oh,
about that.
okay. But anyway, yeah, so you don't listen to yourself, that you're very driven by expectations of others and your own. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think your character, Margot, was she was manipulative, but she was also sarcastic and funny, but also slightly mean, but then loved, I think, Stephanie. What do you think? How did you approach the role? You had so many different layers to that character.
Oh, that's very kind of you. But I think, well, I approach it very much I am a parent, and I know as a parent, I'm certainly not like Margot, I hope, but as a parent, you're very aware, particularly as your kids get older. You at different ages, you're concerned about different things with your children, but as they get older and they're young adults, um, you've got to be very careful as a parent not to project your own fears onto your children. And so you
Mm,
keep those in check. So, if you have fears that, oh, are they going to ever find a job that's going to sustain them? Are they ever going to find friends who will make them feel good about themselves? Are they ever going to find a partner? Blah, 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 blah. So I think that Margo just takes things to that further degree where her fear for her daughter's well-being and happiness goes to another level where she compares her daughter with her own life, and that if it doesn't match her own life and her own experience, then her daughter has failed. So her daughter is a failure if she cannot emulate all the things that Margo holds important in life and certainly to happiness. And it doesn't mean I don't think that Margot's life was particularly, or her marriage was what she claims it was, possibly,
yeah,
because of the whole fairy tale myth. And some women are brought up on the fairy tale myth. And
yeah.
I wasn't personally, but I do know people who have been, and it's very hard to get that out of your head. Very hard to get that out of the story that will be your story, and that when will that happen, you know? So I
Did
think Margo just perpetuates that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think so. She's almost different in every episode you see her. Even on the phone when she's going to give money to her daughter, it's sort of like no, but yes, a no yes situation. Pretty
Yeah.
incredible acting all around there.
Well,
Uh,
it's in the script. It's what Anya's written, and
yeah,
it's very
yeah,
much
oh,
in there.
yeah. Did
But
did did Anya approach you, or did the producers approach you
oh,
to
look, I was,
play the role?
as an actor, you just never know. Sometimes you go through millions of screen tests and you never get the job, and other times someone just offers you something. So in this case, Imogen and the producers offered me the role, which obviously had been um, con
Mm.
considered by the directors, both Jen Lisi and I had worked with Emma Freeman on Love Me season 1, so I have
Oh
a
yeah,
wonderful relationship with both those directors. I loved both of them, so I
yeah.
was thrilled to be able to work with them. Yeah, and also that Taylor Ferguson's the other director. I didn't get to work with Taylor, but I worked
Oh,
with this.
maybe another time because the Australian film industry is so connected, as you know.
Exactly.
Well, and you've worked with David before on multiple occasions, but I mean, you may know that I love a little bit of soul. I think that is just the best. I remember seeing that back in the day, and nobody's ever heard of it, but I
Well,
love
no
that.
one's ever heard of it.
Yeah, but it's great. And you and David were in that together, of course. But had you worked with Asher in the past?
Yes,
Was this your first?
I know, Asher and I worked on a mini series
Okay.
called Society Murders. We played sisters in it. and
Wow.
had a wonderful time working together on that. But I'd known Asha from when she was just left drama school, really. And I remember seeing her in the MTC productions. She very early on in her career got Simon Phillips at the MTC, employed
Yeah.
her in a number of things. And I remember seeing her in theatre and just think, wow, she's really interesting, and, you know, loved watching her. So I've always watched everything that Asha
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
Can you compare her to anyone else you've worked with in the past? I know you worked with Judy Davis and some legends, uh, well, many, too many to name, but can you compare Asha Keddie to someone else maybe, or is she her own unique
No,
thing?
I wouldn't even attempt to compare her with anyone. And I'd be loath to compare anyone with anyone, really, because
Sure, yeah.
everyone has um, their own way of working and their own process and their own way of being on set. But I would just say that my admiration for how she dealt with the intensity of that experience, and always very aware of everyone else,
Mm,
ever to the point where she wore both hats incredibly well, being an
mm,
actor and being able to step outside. She had subjectivity and objectivity in equal parts and was able to move
mm.
between the two.
She's delightful, but she's also got her head screwed on when it comes to business and filmmaking. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's
Yeah.
wonderful. Brilliant. And we need so many more women to be
Yes.
believe that they can do that. Not just do it, but believe that they can. Yeah.
You were just saying before that you just can go through a lot of screen tests or auditions. I wouldn't have thought you'd have to really audition that much anymore, but do you still have to screen test for projects?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Um, I'm waiting to hear about something at the moment that I've done 2 screen tests for. I find that, generally speaking, ever since COVID, and all screen tests now happen in your own home, or
Yeah.
you have to pay to go and get one done, you're not in the room with people. And I must say, I've never got a job from a screen test. The minute recently, I did a screen test a couple of years ago, and I said to my agent, "Can I please get in the room with the person? Can I just speak to them?"
Yeah.
And I did, and I got the job. And I thought, I really feel for young actors in particular, because if you don't have that experience of seeing the person in the flesh,
Mm,
getting a sense of them, because so much of casting also is not just about the screen test, it's about your relationship, how you can talk to the person, can you direct them, can you get a feel for them. So I actually think it's a great, great shame that we no longer have the opportunity to be in the room with a casting agent and a director, and do those things. Yeah.
yeah. How would you, in your own words, describe the Australian film industry at the moment? I mean, there seems to be more opportunities. I know as a movie analyst and watching so many series and shows, we are on top of some great productions and opportunities. But
Yeah.
are you finding that as an actor as well? Like, are you getting, or do you have to seek them out yourself?
Look, I feel that firstly, I think the industry is going through a very difficult period. And I know
Mhm.
that there's been a whole lot of, just very recently, like even today, it's one of the phone calls I was just having was about the quotas, and there's everything's clamping down,
Yeah.
and discussions being made, which I don't personally understand, beyond my understanding, but I know producers and filmmakers are very concerned at the moment. And I know, speaking to my agent, that there isn't the work around at the moment, that everyone's tightening up comparatively to even during COVID, there was so much more work, and so many
Really?
American productions. Oh, there was so much going on, and American productions were coming here because the Australian dollar was so good,
True. Yeah. Yeah.
and our crews are so good, and they can get Australian actors much more cheaply, and they're really great. And any work I've done with American producers, directors here, they've all just gone, oh, we can't believe how good the Australian actors and crew are, and the DOPs, and that they're blown away by it, because they think they're coming where they're just snakes and spiders. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
totally, yeah, they have a bit of a wake up call. Some people have no
I
idea until
know.
they touch down.
So I hope things will be getting better, but at the moment, I don't think it's particularly robust.
Mm,
Um, I think that we have enormous, at the same time, I say that writers are very busy
yeah,
writing things. Um, and things will definitely be made, but it's rather quiet at the moment, I think. And I really do feel for young people. Gosh, I feel for young actors coming up. I've got a number of young friends who've,
yeah,
studied, done acting study and they're really good and they're making their own works and doing things, but boy, it's hard to get through a door. It's so hard to be seen by anyone. And to get an agent, you don't get an agent until you've done something. But to get that first thing is difficult. So it feels much harder than when I began, even though there's more opportunities now, you would think. The industry was obviously smaller then. But I personally, for me, I feel the older I get, the more I feel I have to offer, the more I feel I'm always hoping that roles for all ages develop, get stronger and better, and for all diversities and for, for all genders and everything. I just hope that more and more and more understanding and thought goes into scripts to tell the stories that that should be told.
Yeah. I mean, I've got some more fun questions coming up, but seeing we're on this, you've got me thinking. Well, you've said you're in your 60s and things have changed, but has it changed? Do you like the way that the Me Too movement has developed around the world? Time's up. Have you ever experienced anything like that, or had any hurdles due to differences back in the day to how it is now?
Oh, look, I definitely, as a young actor and as not such a young actor, experienced completely unwanted sexual advances and physical advances, and the film sets have changed dramatically now.
Good, yeah.
And some would say far too politically correct and we've gone too far, some would say.
Really?
I think as provided that people are safe, and I don't just mean physically safe, but feel emotionally safe, that feel that they are protected and they can be heard. I think that's of paramount importance. No matter where you work or no matter what you do, that has to be really number one. I think that everyone feels safe. I think it's creating now how far that goes. I mean, some people become very vocal about, I don't feel safe, because he put his lunchbox next to mine and I don't like blue next to green. I mean, I'm being ridiculous, but this can go to extremes.
Yeah, definitely.
So we have to be sure that we're smart with this, that we're not stupid, that we kind of understand the fundamentals of why it's important to be safe and it doesn't get ridiculous. Yeah.
No, I know which angle you're coming from, and you can go too extreme, and then other times you need to let it push it a little bit more. I get it. Now, you mentioned clamping down before. What about Rogue, the movie Rogue, about clamping down with the crocodile? Your hair, I don't know if it was a wig or not. You had short hair in that. I don't think I've ever seen you with short hair. You were rocking it. You look great.
I was actually, when I was cast in that, I was just finishing chemotherapy. I'd been through, or finishing my radiation. So my hair was just growing back. I'd had breast cancer and I'd been through 2 years of treatment. And then this job came along and I thought, oh, what a blessing to have a job at the end of this. And so that was my hair, and that was my hair just growing back. But it started to grow. I think that filming took quite a few months. And so then it would grow and they'd have to shave it and cut it back again. I go, no, don't cut it off. But
You're trying to grow it back. Like I knew you'd gone through that horrible experience, but and at the time you were playing the role was
that was
to
strange.
something similar, but yeah, it hasn't reoccurred since or anything. You've been
yes,
okay?
I had a reoccurrence of breast cancer last year.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
And thank you, but I'm feeling fantastic. And I have the most wonderful medical team. And I fortunately got it very quickly. And I feel I'm fantastic. Yep.
Now, there's a wedding scene in Fake, but also you were in a quite funny wedding scene in Thank God He Met Lizzie. Have you ever been at a wedding and sitting next to someone like that person in Thank God He Met Lizzie that's very annoying and you just want to get away?
You've seen everything, and what a memory you have. Incredible.
It was a funny film.
I only just remember the wedding scene you're talking about. Look, no, I haven't actually, because if I was, I would have just got up and walked away. But but that was quite a sweet little storyline. Like what I loved about that film, there were these lovely little storylines through there of other characters, which was really lovely.
Yeah.
That was an exciting thing just to work on, because that was you know, Kate Blanchett, that was one of her early films.
Yes.
Um, and my main memory, I was only on that film for a few days, but my main memory of that was the hilarity. You know, she and Shuri Nolan and the rest of the cast were all having such a wonderful time
Yeah.
shooting it, and they were having a lot of fun. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I've seen pretty much everything, so I can recall
amazing.
recall movies like like that.
Mm.
But yeah, thank God he met Lizzie. You and Richard obviously have worked together many times as well. But
Yes, I
that
didn't get to work with him in that, but yes,
no,
we go back to sort of a long time, and our main connection was doing theatre. We've
mm,
done back in the 80s and 90s, we mainly doing theatre together and did a few plays. In fact, two in particular, The Homecoming and Burn This, where we played opposite each other, and they were very sort of steamy, and we were young actors, and it was a very, in fact, Burn This, people came multiple times to see that show. It was about AIDS. It was at the time when AIDS was a huge
mm,
huge problem, and but it was a love story,
mm.
and that was a very successful show. Yeah.
Do you still do theatre as much, or is it the same as film? There's various opportunities, or less
Look,
projects.
yeah, theatre is where I began, and theatre is
Mm,
kind of, in a way, my first, people say first love. It's just the place I probably feel the most at home, in a
yeah.
rehearsal room. Um, I've just finished a 6-month tour 2 weeks ago of a one-woman show written by Susie Miller about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So we performed it in Sydney over a year ago, and it was so
Mm.
successful. We then did a return season, and I've just finished taking it to Melbourne, Perth, Canberra. We've gone everywhere with it, and
That's huge.
it was amazing. So 8 shows a week for
Yeah.
6 months, and I loved every minute of it. Never got tired of it. And she was an extraordinary woman, Susie Miller, who wrote Prima Facie, and has been, you know, and everything she does has just had extraordinary success.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's beautifully written and directed by Priscilla Jackman, who I've worked with before, who's brilliant. So that was wonderful. So yeah, I'll do that again probably next year,
Good.
a season of that. So it's great.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been acting and working for such many decades, but never gone overseas. Has the opportunity never arisen, or did you choose not to go stateside to the UK or the US or wherever to act? Just stay locally.
I'm uh, I'm actually an American citizen, and my father
I'm learning more things about you. This is amazing.
and my father was I'm also Australian. I hold both.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
my father was American, and his family are all in Los Angeles and
Okay.
Kansas and upstate New York, and my brother lives in New York. And so as a young actor, I went to Bill Shanahan was my agent. He was an extraordinary. He introduced me to ICM, and I went there to LA, and I met them all, and they were lovely. And back, I'm talking the 80s, early 80s, when you didn't put on an American accent, you spoke
Right.
were, and they knew I was Australian, and they thought I sounded rather British, as all Americans think Australians sound British. They can't
True. Yeah.
differentiate between Australian and
Yeah.
British. And they were beautiful to me, and they said they'd take me on. They were delighted, but they basically said I had long red hair, and they said, "Okay, well, I think we'll just any Irish roles that come along you could play." And I said, "Irish roles?" And I said, "How often does that happen?" They said, "Well, none yet, but you know, if an Irish role comes along, we'll cast you."
What?
And so I just said, "Wow." And I had theatre work offered to me back in Australia with Sydney Theatre Company, and I just thought, "Oh, I just want to work. I want to do things. I don't want to sit around waiting." So the idea of sitting around waiting in America, fame was never something that I was
Mm,
interested in. And celebrity, that was not why I was wanting to be an actor. So I got other things out of it. So I came back to Australia, and I would love more than anything to have jobs that took me overseas. That would be heaven. That would be wonderful. But I
yeah.
never wanted to go and live in America or England, really. I mean, I'd love
Yeah.
to take shows there and do things there, but I've always felt Australia was And I thought the Australian industry was full of wonderful people,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and yeah, wanted to support the Australian industry really.
I am honored to talk to you, and it's been unreal watching you work over the years. Someone on my bucket list also would be Judy Davis, who's very elusive and talented. You've worked with her a few times. People like her and Brian Brown and so forth, we really do produce iconic, I hate using that word all the time, but iconic actors. And what is it about the Aussies? What's in the water, in your
Oh, look,
opinion?
I don't know, but I think there is well, I hope it doesn't change because we're all
Yeah,
changing. But I think that there's a deep honesty, just an acceptance of where we are and who we are, and a love of, I don't know. It's so interesting because I was just over in Perth, and I thought
right.
of the number of brilliant people in our industry who've come from Perth,
Yeah,
and each one of them, when I think of them, are all really nice people, and they're really good at what they do.
yeah,
And from the McElhoney girls to Tim Minchin and Sarah Snook and Claire Vanderboom, and I'm thinking of all these beautiful people I'd consider great sort of friends and people I love working with. So I don't know. I think well, we're a mixture of all sorts of people here, and I think that I mean, I have no answer to your question really, except
okay.
that I think that there's a lack of pretension that I hope will remain in Australia.
I think it does. We're naturally not pretentious. Well, 95% of us anyway, I
Yeah,
find. And our
yeah,
industry can promote pretension, but it doesn't always happen, thankfully.
yeah, yeah.
I've seen you in things like Pimped, a little indie film. I've seen you in bigger budgets films. Then you go to television series. Do you have preference at all, or do you just look at the job, the character, or is it a work thing? You just need to work and you'll take it. Do you have any preferences?
Look, I do. I mean, it's definitely character is what really, and if it's a tiny role in something, I'm very happy to do that if it's a really interesting character.
Yeah,
But it's so much about the writing for me. And then if the writing doesn't really grab me, if I think it's a good team of people around it, then I'll do it.
yeah,
Because if I think the director's really interesting and the writing isn't as good, that's okay. That'll be okay. But if the writing's brilliant, the director, I don't think maybe, it's sort of the balancing thing.
yeah.
But definitely as an actor, the character is very important, what I think I can do with the character. Um, and
Okay,
since in a series like Love Me, the
yeah,
minute I read that, I just went, oh, please, please, I hope I get offered this. And then they offered it because I just thought, oh, I can see this character so perfectly. And I loved the story and I loved the storylines. And I thought it was such a not particularly overtly Australian. It didn't scream it's Australian. And not
yeah.
that that's a good or bad thing, but it had a different feeling about it, a more European, I guess, feeling.
Have you been ever wanting to direct, produce more, write yourself? Are you writing a
I've done a
book?
little bit of writing and I'm more
Yeah.
interested in doing more writing. I wrote a book last year, which was published, and I'm dabbling with, I'm really interested in dialogue and why people speak and how they speak.
Poetry?
Oh, and I've done some poetry,
Yes.
which is, we're recording actually this week for the Red Room. Um, Look, I can't go through a day without doing something. Like
Yeah.
if I'm not working, I need to write something or do something. I'm innately have to create something, or I'll do a toast painting, or I do like ever since I was very young, as a young child, I think I was brought up in a family that was always making something or doing something. So that's just in me. I just need to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I definitely I'm interested in producing.
Good.
Directing, not as much actually. I think
Right.
I prefer being an actor to be a director. So directing, I don't think I've often been asked, "Do you want to do directing?" And I go, "No, I don't really."
Yeah. Be a tough gig.
It's a
I'm
tough
aware.
gig. Yeah.
I'm aware of your poetry, so I hope that is continues to be successful. And congratulations on the book too. as
Thank
well.
you.
It's a big thing, to juggle so many different hats that you do.
Well, they all come fairly organically.
Good.
So it's not, I find working and being creative, doing something creative, rarely stressful.
Mm.
I find the other things in life, like getting my tax in and and working out how to use my gov
Oh, wow. Well,
and
yeah,
getting to Service New South Wales on time, much more stressful.
I
And
mean, you're the guest. You can talk about anything you like, but if you start talking politics or MyGov or taxes, maybe we'll have to cut this interview short. That's funny. So Muriel's Wedding, Great Gatsby, do you go to the big premieres of movies you're in or overseas to like the Cannes Film Festival? Have you ever attended anything like that for any of your movie premieres?
look, the only time I've gone overseas, or twice, once was when Muriel's Wedding was the
Yeah,
Cannes Film Festival, and PJ and Jocelyn were very, very close friends of ours, still are.
yeah,
And Martin, my husband, was the DOP, so we went over for that, and that was thrilling. And Tony Collette
yeah.
and a bunch of us went over, and that was really thrilling to be there. And
It would
yeah,
have been
I'd
amazing. And what a
never
time,
experienced
what a
anything.
time.
And the response to Muriel's, because they had no idea how it would go over.
Mm.
And it was just the standing ovation went forever and ever and ever and ever. It was to see PJ and Joss's faces was just incredible. It was wonderful. So that was exciting. And the only other time I went with Jocelyn Morehouse when she went over with Dressmaker. I wasn't
Yeah,
in Dressmaker, but she went over for some premieres and things, and I went with her as her buddy and went to those with her and sort of held her handbag while she went up on stage and did all that. That was really fun. But otherwise, in Sydney and in Australia, anything I've done, I love being
yeah,
there. I love the buzz of people. I love that people are still willing and looking forward to seeing new things. That's what I love. I love, and you get people who are fans of certain people and fans of shows and fans, and I love those people. And
yeah,
without them, you sort of go, well, thank goodness they're there. It's the same in theatre. There are some people who go multiple times to plays, and you just love those people who bother to do that and love it so much. And then yeah, I look, I love people. I love being with people, and I love if it takes a lot of people to make a film or a TV series. And
yeah.
I personally love that experience of getting together with those people. And even if you don't get to talk to them all on the night, they're all there, or
Mm.
as many there as possible, and you see their names on the credit, and you get to celebrate the work everyone's done in a more relaxed environment, because on the days that you're working, you know, it's a hard slog usually. So it's great.
Oh, I couldn't imagine what it's like for you when you're looking at the day sheet or the run sheet on set, seeing Susan Sarandon, Sam Neill, like Irresistible. Emily Blunt was in that when she was young. Eye of the Storm, that has such a great cast too. I can only imagine what it must bring out something in you once that you
Yeah, and
step.
the most wonderful thing is you see those names on a call sheet and you
Mm,
arrive on set and they're just lovely people.
yeah, of course.
Susan Sarandon's in a rug boots and a sloppy Joe, and she's sort of just eating Vegemite on toast and going, "What is this thing, Vegemite?" And she's just a lovely woman.
Yeah.
And
I was
Sam, of
lucky
course,
lucky
is
enough to interview her for the Lovely Bones. She came to Australia to promote that,
right.
and you're right, she was really cool and down to
She's
earth.
down to earth, smart, intelligent, no nonsense.
Mm.
So names are names and people are people. A name can be one thing, but when you're with the person, 99% of the time, the people are. I worked with Zac Efron and John
Yeah,
Cena. They couldn't have been more lovely. I mean, Zac was just a sweetheart. And no pretensions, just,
no,
his bodyguards are over there, but he's just sort of, he's pleasant to everybody. If he walked out and there were some fans there, he signed their things and
yeah.
didn't spend longer than necessary with them, but was never dismissive. A darling, So
You know what? That's a black hole for me. I haven't seen Ricky Stenicki, that movie yet, with you and John Cena and Zac Efron. Should I watch it?
Well, since you watch everything, you probably should. But you say it's a black hole. I hope it won't be a black hole for you. So
Yeah, I've missed it so far. And I don't like name dropping, but because you've mentioned him, I've had a chance to interview Zach 3 times. And the second and third times, both times when he locked eyes on me and saw me, he remembered who I was, shook my hand. It was great. Like, I don't know why, and I didn't prompt it, but he remembered exactly who I was. So
wow,
he,
that's
he
pretty impressive
seems,
when he
yeah,
meets so many people, and so much of the time he has his eyes downcast because he's reluctant, of course, to make eye contact with people.
sure.
Once you do,
Yeah.
then they want to approach you. So, I feel for him. He's having to, not make eye contact too much. So if he's made eye contact with you, that's a very good thing.
Yeah, he did. Lovely bloke. Okay, so before we wrap it up, you're an actor getting older, and you've said that already. I'm not saying
Yeah,
anything about ageism, but
no.
how do you approach acting now? Have you changed? I mean, I know you've said it's a natural thing, and you go with what the character is and what you can bring, but have you changed the way you approach acting? Are you more quiet on set now? Do you get more involved with people? Maybe you didn't get as involved with people when you were younger. Is there differences
I'm
between now and then, Heather?
definitely differences. I feel I feel totally relaxed on set.
Yeah,
I feel as I say, I love seeing all the people. I'm much more, I think when I was younger, I was so focused on just what I had to do and didn't
yeah.
really get to know the crew as well, or the ADs and things. I now get most of my pleasure often out of getting to know the crew or getting to know everyone else. It's much more like being part of a family. Um, I love getting older as an actor, and I'm so grateful that so far I'm still working and still being offered things and going for things, because what I love more than ever now, the whole point of getting older, one of the points of getting older, is not only go, oh, I'm still here, but all that experience you've had in life, you get as an actor to use it. And
Mm,
so when you're offered a role or something that doesn't allow you to use your life experience, it's a little disappointing. So you've got to try and find ways of bringing some of those things into the roles, because it's such a waste, because all you've got as an actor is yourself and your life and your imagination. So
yeah,
I can use my imagination and I can imagine things, but there's nothing better, I find, as I get older, being able to use true things from my life and my life experience
mm,
and use that in my work. So my approach to acting has changed in that I'm not self-protective in terms of what I've been through or what I do, and
yep.
I want to use it all. Yeah. I'd love an opportunity. I mean, I would just love an opportunity where I can use it all. So I'd love a role that allows me to use um, a huge range of emotional and psychological experience. Because I think, often people look a particular way, but it doesn't mean they haven't uh, had a lot of varied experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And AI changes that in some ways, and I don't like that. It could sweep over us a lot more than it is now. Have you got an opinion on the future in
I
AI?
don't have much an opinion on it because I don't even get it. I mean, I really don't know what it's capable of. And
A
I'm sure
lot.
there are many ways it's going to help people, many ways.
Mm,
But
true.
boy, if there aren't controls and
Mm,
boundaries around it, I think it's kind of
mm.
terrifying what it might. Yeah.
Is there anyone you haven't worked with that you'd like to? I'm sure there's a long list. And you've
Oh,
worked
he,
with
he,
Charlotte
he.
Rampling. I mean, that I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, well, I
But
didn't get to work closely with her, but she was pretty
no.
extraordinary. That was pretty, she was oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
extraordinary. Oh, look, I'll tell you who I worked with last year, who I just loved working with, was Kieran Hines.
Oh, wow, he's a great actor.
I worked with
Yeah.
Kieran Hines on this brilliant series, which hasn't come out yet, Narrow Road to the Deep North. And he was such a joy to work with.
Okay.
And look, I don't know, there are so many people I'd love to work with, but often it's the people who you least think you might work with that you find you're working with, and you go, how did this happen? How did this wonderful opportunity come your way? And then you get to know them, and it's fabulous. So yes, I
Yeah.
could dream about people I want to work with, but it'll probably not happen. Whereas if I don't, it might happen.
Yeah, you don't want to jinx it. And
Uh,
I saw a movie with Kieran Hines a couple of years ago called The Man in the Hat.
yes.
And yeah, it was a silent film basically, and he was so good. I mean, he's always
Oh,
good, but that
his
one really
face,
captured.
his
Yeah,
what he conveys just in his. Well, there's a man who uses his experience in
yeah,
life. And it just
yeah.
comes out through it. It's extraordinary.
Well, what's next? Are you allowed to talk about? I mean, that's a project that's
Oh,
coming
look,
to
if
you.
only I knew.
Oh, okay. So you
No,
can't. No
I am doing,
exclusives.
sorry.
No exclusives. You can't tell me what's
No,
coming
well,
up.
I'm doing next month a pilot, working on a pilot for a series. Um,
Nice.
and that's the only definite thing at the moment. There's other things I'm waiting to hear about, but that's the only thing definitely.
Okay.
I'm going to Hobart. I hope next week to see my husband. I haven't seen him for 5 months. I'm hoping to go down there and see him. And I've got 2 sons still living at home, so they keep me very,
Oh,
very entertained, and
yeah.
life's great. Yeah.
Uh, so your husband's not in the industry, like,
No,
or
he
is
is.
he?
He's a cinematographer, DOP,
Nice. Okay.
but he's currently shooting Bay of Fires.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
but he's a wonderful. Well, I've been with him a long time. He's
Yeah.
wonderful. We have
That's good.
we have
Good
a
to hear.
fabulous relationship, and yeah, we've navigated all the journeys of both working in the industry, I think, pretty well.
Mm.
So,
No, that's really good to hear. Now let's finish on Fake. I'm assuming you would work with that group of filmmakers, Anya and everyone in particular, or anytime, or
oh, look,
again.
I think Imogen and Emmeline in particular are
Yeah.
extraordinary producers.
Yeah.
They are the most generous, relaxed, smart women. I think they're really clever. I mean, Imogen's got an amazing track record of shows she's done, and
So,
she's
such no,
hugely
nothing
experienced.
she's made has not been good or effective.
No, she's amazing,
Mm,
and she's such a gorgeous person too. So I would adore to work with them again, and of course with Asha and with
mm.
and any of those. I mean, the whole team were wonderful. In fact,
Yeah.
I went for a lunch last week in Melbourne with them all,
Oh,
and
good. Oh,
uh,
yeah.
it was just fabulous. It was just so wonderful to see them all. It was great.
Yes, there was a gathering for the success of Fake for Paramount Plus, which is
Yeah, and it
wonderful.
was really lovely. It was
Mm.
wonderful. Yeah.
All right. To wrap it up in your own words, and I like asking this question for people involved in the production. Why should people watch Fake? I mean, it's quite relevant for a lot of people, definitely. But in your own words, why should people switch on Fake? And millions of people already have, of course. But
I think it watches fake because I would defy anyone not to identify on some level with some aspect of it.
sadly, yeah,
And um, and also for extraordinary performances, particularly from Asha and David Wenham, like really extraordinary performances, and pretty seamless writing. And also, may I say, the sound.
yeah.
I was so blown away by the sound production, the breathing. There was this wonderful story of sound going on all through it. So I would just say in my own words, relevance, performance, and technical expertise throughout the whole piece. And I felt like I was although the story's not safe, I felt like I was in safe hands watching
Yeah.
it.
But was Margo genuine when you first met Joe at that restaurant? Because you had a big smile on your face and you shook hands, like you all seemed great. You're very pleased to meet him, but
Oh,
on the inside,
I was playing that at last he's real.
yeah,
I was beginning to think this man's not real.
exactly. I
Daughter's
thought that.
my daughter's bonkers.
Yeah.
She's fabricated this whole thing. I'm going to have to get her scheduled. I think that she's just so charmed by him and thinks, oh, he's better looking than the photo I saw. I think she's completely charmed.
Well, all I could think of was, as I always do, go back to a little bit of soul and your character in that, who's part of a cult, basically. So that's how I was thinking. I love that movie.